Welcome back. This Superfest Disability Film Festival is the longest-running disability film festival in the world, working to highlight storytelling about disabilities that break free of tired stereotypes. Joining us now is the director, Emily Beitiks. Emily, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Now let's talk about the festival. For those who may not know what it is, can you tell us what it's all about?
Sure. Superfest celebrates really incredible storytelling around disability. So it's really a place where you're not going to see the films that often get really celebrated in mainstream media. Actors win Oscars every year for films that are protested by people in the disability community. Superfest really breaks free of that by being films that are all selected by people with disabilities that are really going to move a conversation forward and show a much more accurate representation of the many diverse stories that disabled people have in the U.S. and abroad, because we accept films from all over the world.
Well, let's talk about some of those films that will be featured at the festival this year. Are there any that people should keep an eye out for? I'm sure there's a lot.
No, I can't pick favorites. There are 20 films total, and we have our, I'll just go with the best of, because then the jurors did the work for me. There's a Best of Festival short called Baby AI that is a really interesting sci-fi film that's all about a young couple, both people with Down syndrome, are looking to adopt a robotic child and experiencing the same discrimination that is part of creating families in the disability community today. So we look for a lot of films that are like creative genres that don't just have to be documentaries, although we're excited about documentaries too. They're going to bring in some of the real life experiences and struggles in life with disability in a world where there's so much discrimination still, but really creative and engaging ways to bring in those plot points. We also have a film called Changer, a Hand Telling, which was selected as Best of Festival feature film, and it's all in sign language by an Indigenous group in Canada, and it weaves in sovereignty rights, it weaves in gentrification issues and discrimination against deaf people. So it's but creative and incredible acting, and just, you know, the stories have so much, it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint what to say.
I mean, they sound so amazing already. So some really amazing films that people can look forward to. But what about other activities and guest speakers, some other stuff that's going on at the festival?
Yeah, the festival is definitely more than just the films. It's really about bringing community together. That might be people who are coming in person. We have 2 in-person programs, one in Berkeley, one in San Francisco, or it might be folks who cannot join because it still isn't safe. The pandemic continues and people with disabilities are at higher risk, and many are still in isolation. So we have virtual programs. So folks who are joining us virtually, there's an event at the end of the weekend where they can, you watch all the films asynchronous on your own time, and then everybody meets up at the end to kind of share their remarks and thoughts and questions, and that'll be with some of the filmmakers Sunday night. The in-person programs will have an in-person day Saturday, October 22nd at the Freight and Salvage in downtown Berkeley, and then there'll be a chance to meet with filmmakers and ask your questions directly to them. And then Sunday we have a panel discussion that will follow the screening that's really about voyeurism. People with disabilities have faced staring for so long, and so cinema, when it explores disability, it has to really think through, like, well, what does it mean to put a lens on a population that has faced so much staring and so much scrutiny? And so there's one film in particular, Seeing Diane Arbus, really plays around with that, and the history of the photographer Diane Arbus, who loved to shoot disabled people. Camera shoot, and so so the film does a really interesting take on that, and we'll have a panel with some of those filmmakers present to talk about that issue.
Yeah, and when it comes to this community of individuals who have faced so many stereotypes and just so many challenges in this world, what does it mean to have this festival as representation?
Yeah, it's just a joyful event. People talk about Superfest being their favorite event of the year for bringing folks together because it's just a celebration. It's a celebration of all the stories. We have stories that are talking about that hardship and that are dark and heavy and emotional, and then we'll follow it with something that is just pure joy, laughter. People have found that some of the filmmakers will make a film, a disabled filmmaker will make a film and bring it to Superfest, and they'll say, this audience understood some of the jokes that no one else did, because so many of our audience members are inside the disability community, really active in fighting for disability justice or the disability rights movements and trying to make change. But that being said, if people are not at all tied in with disability, you're super welcome to still come. We bring these films to school assemblies, we use them in corporate trainings. You know, anybody can learn about disability and check yourself on your assumptions through watching these films. So it's just a great film, and you'll find something that speaks to you too, something that speaks to your own story, whether or not you have a disability.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining us here on Live in the Bay. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. To learn